this year, I did a video on my illogical fear of running out of money in retirement. Now, obviously, anything is possible, but I have ran the numbers 6 ways from Sunday. I've been following the 4% rule. I've got my Bolden account all set up with all these different scenarios. So I'm pretty confident based on the numbers that I'm not going to run out of money in retirement. But what you see on paper and what you are able to conceptualize and how you behave in your day-to-day life are completely different things. One is based on rationality, it's based on numbers, it's based on calculations, and you can look at that and see that, yes, it's soundproof, it's good to go, you're golden. And yet, your brain will still wake you up at 3 a.m. when it loves to overthink things and walk you through the scenarios where you'll end up living under a bridge in a cardboard box somewhere. I too had all of those fears as evidenced by that video I just mentioned. And I also think it's a pretty natural thing to be afraid of. You go through life with this mindset of accumulation and trying to squirrel things away and just making sure that you have enough for that day. But when that day comes, no matter what you have on paper or on your computer screen, there's a feeling and a mindset and an identity shift that needs to catch up with whatever you see on paper. So I think all of this is very natural. And I'm almost surprised how quickly I've started to get over my fears of running out of money. So in today's video, I thought I would walk through some of the mindset changes and just realizations that I've come to that have helped me loosen the grip on that fear and actually feel more comfortable spending more and investing in this early part of my retirement where, let's be honest, this is when I have, the most energy and the most capabilities to do whatever it is I want. So it is important to be able to learn how to spend, especially at the beginning of your retirement, because these really are perhaps the most precious years you're going to have in the rest of your life. This is definitely the youngest you're ever going to be for the rest of your life. So we got to know how to spend and enjoy what it is we've saved. And I want to start this off by how I was actually thinking about whether I would have enough before I ever retired, while I was still in that accumulation stage. Because we all have this number in our head that we think, if I have X amount, then I should be okay to retire. And that's where we make the decision generally to retire or not. And in my mind, I had hit that number based on the framework of the 4% rule. And if you're not familiar with the 4% rule, it's just a basic framework that says you can spend down 4% of your portfolio every year for at least 30 years and not worry about running out of money. So if you have $1 million and you spend 40,000 of it a year, you should be fine for at least 30 years. Lately, that has been, I wouldn't say debunked, but it's been updated where the number is actually closer to 5% because 4% is a little too conservative. But at any rate, I was always using the 4% rule in my head. I knew exactly how much we were spending each year. I had a general idea of what our budget was going to be in retirement. So I figured as long as we have enough that we can draw down this 4%, then we should be good. And I wasn't even factoring in Social Security for that. So on paper, I knew I would have enough. But then I actually retired and things felt very different. So in the year that I retired, my business model changed completely and my revenue went from 6 figures to basically nothing. And I could have done some things to intervene, but at that point I didn't want to. So seeing my income go from here to here in less than a year was the initial shock. And it could have been the same if I were employed full-time and my paychecks just stopped. There is this feeling associated with not having an inflow of money anymore that is completely jarring and discombobulating. No matter how much you have saved for retirement, there's just this period of time where you have to adjust to no longer having a regular paycheck. And I think that that is a natural thing. Absolutely natural thing. The other thing that I think helped me a lot during this period was the fact that the markets have been doing so well. I know that's not going to be long term. In fact, we might be looking at a crash very soon, tomorrow, next week, next year. Who knows, right? But in the last year, the markets have been incredibly kind to us, and my investments are actually out earning what I was making my business in the last year of business. So that definitely helped with the mindset shift. But I think the thing that has helped me to soften this fear of running out of money is being a good 9 months into retirement now and having a real sense of what my day-to-day looks like. I think when I was planning my retirement, I had put aside an excessive amount of money for travel and doing specific hobbies and things that I figured I would want to do. And I wanted to be able to fund those things. But it turns out that in retirement, although I do want to travel and I do want to try different things, I think I was thinking about it in a sense that I want to have, money to fund all of this all at once. And that's not really how life goes. So I went to Europe last month, and this month I haven't traveled at all, and I haven't wanted to. And we've got plans to travel towards the end of the year, but I don't know if I'll do much travel in between. So I'm realizing that the cadence of how I want to do things is a lot slower than what I had budgeted for. The other thing that has helped me soften that fear is that I actually spend a lot less in retirement than I thought I would. When I was doing my planning, I inflated my budget so that I knew I would have enough for, however I want to live my life on the day to day. So I'm not talking about travel or buying new cars or anything like that. I'm just talking about things like groceries and going out and gym memberships, things that I figured I would want to sign up for that I haven't signed up for yet. So I realize now that my lifestyle is not really one that requires an enormous budget to fund so that I feel happy. So what's happening in these realizations is that I'm seeing that the life that I'm living right now that makes me happy is a lot more affordable than I thought it would be. And there's not this sense of I might need to adjust or I might need to rein things in at some point down the line in order to maintain my retirement and just the bare basics. Instead, what I'm realizing is that I have way over padded my budget, which is not a terrible thing. It does give me a greater sense of peace. And the reason I bring this up is that last night I realized just how far I've come. I was out for dinner with my husband. We were having tacos by the beach, and we were talking about the recent run up in the market. So I'm recording this early August 2026, and the market has just kind of shot up in the past few days, which everybody's saying, this isn't going to last. It's, sell now, get out. And maybe they're right. Who knows, right? But my husband and I were talking about our own portfolio and any changes that we might need to make. And he asked me this question. He said, if our portfolio dropped by 50% tomorrow, how would you feel? Like, would you be worried or concerned? Would you want to go back to work? How would you react? And I thought about it for a minute, and it was like, obviously I would not feel good about that, but I don't think it would change anything about how I'm doing things. Because what I've realized is that I have, first of all, overinflated my budget, as I had already mentioned. So I'm really not spending that much that I would feel like I need to adjust the spending in my lifestyle. That could change in year 2 or 3 or 4, but for today, I wouldn't feel like I needed to make any big adjustments. And also, I wouldn't sell anything. So if the stocks went down by 50%, it may take them the next 20 years to get back to where they were, but I also wouldn't feel forced to sell because the way our portfolio is structured right now, I would feel comfortable for the next several years at least to, live on that and not be too concerned about it. Now, would I look for other ways to make money on the side, like with this YouTube channel or something? Absolutely. But also, to be fair, if the market went down by 50%, that would also probably be indicative of other things going on in the economy that would make it very difficult for me to increase my revenue where I could. So maybe I would cut back, but the only big expense we really have is the home that we're renting. And I actually love the fact that we're renting for the very reason that it gives us so much optionality. We don't have a mortgage. If we wanted to move somewhere less expensive, we could absolutely do that, and it would dramatically cut our costs even more. And that would be fine by me. Now, my husband had a different reaction. He said that if the markets drop by 50%, he would prefer to go back to work rather than making any sort of adjustments to our lifestyle. He's like, no, I do not want to change my lifestyle at all. I would rather earn more money, which is also fine, right? I think both of them show two different ways of reacting to something that has a big impact on your day-to-day life, but you don't ultimately have control as to when or where it happens, right? You can only control your reaction to it. So by him going back to work or me looking for different streams of revenue or adjusting lifestyle expectations, I think both of them can work. But at the end of the day, what surprised me the most was my reaction to that question, that I don't think I would freak out and immediately try to scramble to find another full-time job. I think it shows how far I've come in terms of that running out of money anxiety. But here's the thing. The only reason I have let go of anxiety is because I've actually walked through this first year of retirement. My point being, at the beginning of retirement, you don't actually know how it's going to feel. You have a whole bunch of fears based on a whole bunch of unknowns. So the only way you're going to know how it's going to feel is to walk through it. You're not going to know if it's boring. You're not going to know if you like it. You're not going to know if you have enough money until you start to actually walk through it. And I know that for some of you, that means giving up a job that you might not be able to get back if you get through your first year of retirement and realize, oh, this isn't for me for whatever reason. Yes, in some cases, it is going to be hard to go back or impossible, and sometimes doors close for good. But if you've planned your financial piece, even if it takes you a couple years to get back into employment, you're not going to spend through your entire retirement savings in the first 3 years of retirement. So I don't want to say that those fears are unfounded, but what I will say is give it some time, let yourself experience the first year of retirement, and you'll start to realize what your natural spending habits are. And I bet you 9 times out of 10, they're going to be less than you think they are, even though I think it's good to pad your budgets. And as you start to realize, oh, I actually only need to spend this much to be happy, or I don't even want to do everything that I had planned for myself, you're going to start feeling that fear dissipate and melt away. And the interesting thing, especially with the market we have right now that's been so good, is that as time goes on and you continue to see your portfolio grow even after you've retired, you might start to wonder, geez, am I going to leave like a whole bunch of money in my retirement savings when I die because I'm not spending enough? And while that's a good problem to have, and maybe we don't even call it a problem, but this is the money that you saved your entire life for to enjoy this period of your life. So you got to find the balance to actually spend it and enjoy it, especially in your younger years of retirement. So those are my thoughts on running out of money in the first year of retirement. A few of you have asked me for book recommendations on this. A few that I think are really good that address this, but not necessarily specifically, is number 1, The Art of Spending by Morgan Housel. Love that book. Number 2, J.L. Collins' The Simple Path to Wealth. That's more about accumulation and then spending in general. And I highly recommend listening to the audiobook because he's got a very soothing voice. And then the one other book that I would highly recommend reading, I can't even remember the name. It's about this guy who says you should spend your wealth by the time you're 50. I know some of you are screaming the title at me right now. I'll put it down here, but that was also a really good book. I don't necessarily agree with everything he writes in it, but it's a good way of flipping the problem on its head and seeing it from a different lens. So those are my thoughts. I hope this was in some way helpful. I would love to hear in the comments from all of you. Have you gone through this fear? I think it's pretty natural. And more importantly, how did you get through it? And if you have any resources you would like to share. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.